Good morning, Bardstown and Nelson County, and welcome to Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford with you this sunny morning in beautiful downtown Bardstown. Well, Margie, at my house out Cox's Creek, it wasn't very sunny this morning. It was foggy. So, anyway, but as I came into town, the sun broke through the fog. It was a nice transition.
It was kind of like a revelation. Well,
maybe people in Bardstown are living righter than those of us north of town. I don't know. But it was nice to see the sunshine.
Yeah, but I'm telling you this, you almost get whiplash with the weather. You have to go to the door and walk out on your porch, find out what kind of day it's going to be. Is it going to be a summery day? Is it going to be a springy day? Or is it going to be the dead of winter here?
Well, we're going to have...
And it can be any of those three.
That's right, especially this time of year.
Yes.
Of course, it's unseasonably warm yesterday and today, and I'm not complaining.
Oh, I'm not complaining either. It's just...
It can be 60 degrees in January. Yeah. I'm happy with that. But it's not going to stay that way.
No, it never does. Never does.
All right, Margie. Well, I'm going to let you do the introductions on our very special studio guest we're delighted to have with us this morning.
Yes, we are.
Representing the CASA of Lincoln Trail. And so we'll have to get into what CASA is for our listeners who haven't heard us talk about it in the past.
Well, we're certainly going to be happy to talk about that. So, yes, this morning we have Emma Bamba, who is the new executive director for CASA of the Lincoln Trail, and Amanda Shanks, who is the chairman of the board. Since CASA, our executive director, is new, we want to introduce her to the community and talk about what CASA does and all of the things that we know what it means in this community, which it has been for 40 years. So, Emma, welcome, and
thank you,
Amanda.
Thank you.
Let's start off by talking about what CASA is for those who don't know what CASA is, and hopefully that's not very many people that don't know, but we want to tell
Absolutely.
them about what CASA is.
So CASA stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. We are a nonprofit organization, and we partner with the court system, and we recruit and train volunteers to advocate for abused and neglected children in court, which that's a mouthful, but essentially our role is to help be the eyes and ears of the court, so that judges get a full picture of what's going on with the kids, before them. And also to be a voice for those kids so that the court kind of knows, again, that full picture, what those kiddos are wanting, what they need, and hopefully, that the goal is to lead to better and more permanent outcomes for those kids.
Right.
Well, you might tell, give an example of what who those children are.
Sure, yeah. So, we serve children in Nelson, Marion, and Washington County. The kids that we work with are children who, CPS has gotten involved with their family. They've done investigations, and ultimately they've decided that the situation warrants court action. So a lot of the kids we serve may be in foster care or in family placement. Some of them do remain in the home, but ultimately there's something going on there. The children are experiencing neglect or abuse, and the state feels that the courts need to be involved in looking at these families. So all the kids that we serve have ultimately, they've experienced some trauma. A lot of times, they can range between, newborns all the way up to even over 18, but usually 18 and under. And they're really just kids from everywhere. They're your local schools have some of our kids. Unfortunately, child abuse is everywhere, and those families can come from any background.
Now tell us what an advocate is and does.
Sure. So that can vary a lot. So, one thing I always tell our potential volunteers is every answer to every question is it depends. Every family that we serve is different. Every child that we serve is different. And so advocacy for those families and children can look different too. But sometimes it's as simple as just getting a good understanding of a family. Our CPS workers work really hard. They have really hard jobs, really high caseloads. And because of that, they can't really get in depth with the family. So our CASA volunteers will go talk with teachers and schools. They'll talk with family members. They obviously talk with the children. And so really their job is to kind of gather all of that information, use that to help recommend actions or services to kind of make the best outcome for those kids. So sometimes advocacy can look like going into schools and talking with teachers and trying to come up with accommodations or plans or brainstorming attendance issues with the family. Sometimes that can look like talking with doctors to help navigate through a medical situation that a child might have. Sometimes it can be a matter of helping find a family placement that maybe no one knew about yet, or helping bring that to the table if our kids are in foster care, maybe helping find a family placement for them. So it really can vary what advocacy looks like depending on the case. All of our advocates meet in person with their children, and then they usually meet in person with the families, but if nothing else, they're in contact with the families.
They have a personal relationship with that child.
They do, yes.
And I think what helps people to better understand is that in such a busy court system, CPS is a very, very busy system. Our advocate for that child is sometimes the only voice for that child. Like, they're the only person that's looking at the full picture, that's completely committed 100% to what's best for that child, and not any parents or any other parties. And oftentimes, in the court system, the face of the CASA volunteer is the only consistent face that the child sees the entire time. They can have different foster placements, there can be different attorneys, even maybe sometimes different judges, but their CASA volunteer stays the same the entire time.
Well, CASA seems like it plays a critical role in the court system as you mentioned, Emma, the eyes and ears of the court to give that bigger picture, since CPS has such a tremendous caseload, and no one can spend the amount of time with that child, kind of looking at their world situation. Than a CASA volunteer. There's no replacement for that.
And our CASA volunteers, they're generally working with just one family. And so that's a huge advantage. Our CPS workers, our attorneys, our judges, they're looking at, many cases in one day, and they're getting all new investigations and all new families, and that's a constant kind of turnstile, situation. Sure. But our volunteers, like Amanda said, they stay on a case, usually through the entire time, through kind of the outcome, the permanency, and they're just with that family. So they can really give that kind of tunnel vision view of this is what this kiddo's life looks like, and this is what they might need.
I know that Judge Kelly is very supportive of that and wants them on all the cases, and you're only limited by the fact that by the number of volunteers you have.
That's correct. Yeah. We recently did a survey of all the judges that we serve, including Judge Kelly, and every single judge said they would love to appoint us on more cases. They would love to have us on every case. They really value the insight that our volunteers can bring. But the truth is we just don't have enough people. It takes time to get to know a kid at that personal level, to get to know that situation. And, our staff is there to support all of our volunteers through the whole time, but ultimately we can't serve everyone. We're very small, and so that is our goal this year, is to really grow the number of volunteers we have. So we can,
and we have to emphasize that those volunteers are all trained.
Correct.
So they're not thrown in there, and they are monitored.
Correct. Yes.
In other words,
they have constant support. Yeah, that's a really important piece to this, because I know, going into the court system can feel kind of scary and overwhelming to just an everyday person. And our volunteers are just everyday people. We do have a pretty vigorous kind of onboarding training. We've just kind of shifted to a self-paced online with in-person check-ins, but we really try to give our volunteers a good foundation before they even start. So they'll cover kind of the basics of the court system. They'll learn some of those acronyms and lingos that are in the court system that are foreign language if you're not in there. And we go over some of the issues that our families are facing that they might see. And then we go through how to write court reports, what questions to ask families, just all of those basics. And then even after training, all of our volunteers have consistent support from their volunteer coordinators. So they've pretty much got somebody to call at any time and say, hey, this is what's going on. What should I do next? Who should I talk to? What should I ask? They've got, in very involved direction on their court reports. What do I put in there? What recommendations do I make? And so I always tell volunteers, we can worry about the court stuff. We can worry about the reporting. We can help you through all of that as long as you're willing to commit to going and having that relationship with the children, with the family. We'll help you get through all the logistics and all of the kind of court child welfare specific knowledge and stuff that you would need.
And I think it's really important that they have the same volunteer if at all possible, because that gives them continuity and it fulfills that relationship building. I know, like some of these cases drag on for a year or more.
They can. And, that's one thing, like studies show that the best way to combat trauma in childhood is to have one consistent person in a child's life. That really helps children build resilience and be successful. And so, sometimes our cases are really sad, and sometimes, it doesn't always end with a feel-good kind of lovey-dovey situation, but, we can always remind ourselves that at least during this time period, we were a consistent adult in this child's life that they could trust, that was safe, and that had their best interest at heart. And so, it makes such a big difference.
I feel like it also sets a standard for the children that need our help. Like, it sets a standard for what a safe and comfortable adult feels like.
Right.
That's
right.
really,
and they may have
true.
Never known anything else other than their current situation. Their home situation.
Someone who shows up
and
consistently.
And they think it's normal for people to scream at each other.
Right.
And it gives them something to compare with. So it also makes them more likely to advocate for themselves in the future when they have a positive adult role model that they can reflect on.
Right. Well, I know that according to Kentucky Youth Advocates, Dr. Terry Brooks, and remember, Jim, when he was here the last time, that Nelson County has really about the best record in the state for the treatment of these foster children. That they have more successful transitions and just a better outcome. And I give all the credit to CASA for that.
Well, it's definitely a team. I think we have great attorneys and great judges here, but, CASA has been interwoven in the court system here for 40 years. Judge Kelly, is very... very responsive, I guess, to CASA. He really trusts his volunteers. He really values the input that they put in. And so I do think we have some piece of that, Sure. Our whole goal is to make sure that if it's safe, kids go back home. That's the same goal that our judges and attorneys share. And, if it's not safe, we want to move forward. And so I think having those shared goals and then CASA being able to kind of focus
and they can
on
more
that helps.
Quickly resolved, I believe.
We can kind of help move it. Yeah, sometimes, the court system can get bogged down, and sometimes it helps to have somebody who's knows what's going on and can kind of help move things forward, ask those questions of, hey, where is this? Have we filed this? Is there a goal change? Kind of asking those questions can kind of just help keep things moving.
Well, I just wanted to point out that, CASA has a 40-year history, and my co-host here, Margie Bradford, has a long history since the beginning of CASA here. You've always been an advocate for children, the health care in school systems, and then with CASA. You were there at the beginning, and
1985.
that's well. God bless you,
That's
Margie.
when we had board meetings in Judge Dawson's kitchen.
Well, it's people like you and the other initial board members, and a judge like Judge Dawson,
Right.
who saw the value, and Judge Kelly today, and the other judges, district judges, who see
Judge
the value.
Eaton in between.
Yes, and who see the value of CASA today. And I mean, our hats off to all you guys, and you guys who are the ones that make it happen. The organization has to exist, and you have to have that structure. And so, it's 40 years later, here we are, and covering 3 counties now, with future growth down the road.
And tell us about those 3 counties. I know we know Nelson County, but
we've been in Nelson County for 40 years, almost 41, I guess.
Yeah.
We moved to Marion and Washington County, I guess, almost 2 years ago. Is that about right, Amanda?
We were approved to go into the courtrooms about a year and a half ago.
Oh, year and a half, okay. And we are really still getting started in Marion and Washington County. We're doing a lot of outreach in those counties. We're really trying to find more volunteers. The judges there, total buy-in. They're totally in our corner. They want CASA in all their cases. It's really a matter of getting those volunteer advocates in those counties. We've had a few Nelson County residents who have graciously agreed to take on cases in those counties. And it's really unique there. There aren't a lot of foster placements, so a lot of our Marion and Washington County kids are here in Nelson County, or they may be in other counties. So it is a unique situation in that, sometimes our volunteers are driving to wherever kids are placed, and there's a huge need. We always have a waiting list in Marion and Washington County of kids who are waiting to be served. In Nelson County, we're fortunate that most of the time we can get somebody in pretty quickly, although Judge Kelly would definitely appoint more if we had more people. But we are growing. We have 3 people from Nelson in training right now. We have 1 who's open to Marion or Washington in training, and we're open to having new people anytime. We're ready to do that self-paced training to get people involved.
Do you have any board members from Marion?
We do. We do. Well, we have a new board member that's coming in from Marion, and we do have a board member in Washington County.
Good, because maybe that will be helpful in getting people there to volunteer.
Absolutely.
And
we have seen, with our Washington County board member, I've already had some traction in the short time I've been at CASA, kind of doing outreach in Washington County. It's helped open doors. We've spoken to several groups there. We're working on potentially doing kind of an outreach event there this spring. Well, in all 3 counties, but I'm really hopeful that our Marion County board member can kind of help open those same doors. My whole job and my staff's job, in addition to the court time and supervising volunteers, is really to get out there and find volunteers. So we're ready at any time if somebody wants us to come in and talk about CASA, to talk about what that looks like, the volunteer opportunity. We're ready to go.
Maybe some of these service clubs could have you as speaker.
And that's kind of where we've been starting. We've been to Rotary here in Bardstown back in the fall. I went to Rotary in Washington in the fall as well, just a few months ago, and we're slated to talk in Marion tomorrow with a group, and we've got some scheduled in February. So that's really what we're working on right now, is just getting boots on the ground, talking to as many people as we can in all 3 counties, because really we're established in Nelson, but there's tons of room to grow. There's still huge need here. So that's really our work that we're really doing right now, is just getting out there and talking to people and letting people know that there is this need and that they can help fulfill it.
What's the picture look like for somebody who might be interested in volunteering? Like, is there kind of a guideline for the time it takes, and et cetera, because a lot of people are a little leery of volunteering because it can kind of just pull you in
Right.
to a larger commitment than you might expect.
Right. And I understand that. People are really busy. Generally, I will say it varies based on what case you get. It depends.
Sure.
Generally, our volunteers spend, between 4 and 8 hours a month. So it's not just a nothing opportunity. It does take some commitment. We do ask that our volunteers commit for a year. That generally is enough time for somebody to take on a case and see it through to kind of that permanency and closure. And I will say a lot of our volunteers do get sucked in. A lot of our volunteers do stay on for more than a year and take more than one case and kind of stay involved. I think that once you can get through the training and get started, I think that you see the return on that immediately. Like, you can immediately tell, this is making a difference. This is worth my time. There's really a need here. And so I think that's a great thing. But even if somebody can only come in for a year and they can only get 5 hours a month, we can work with that. We can help support that so that they can still, make an impact.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when people see what a difference it makes, that they will commit, because it makes you feel good to feel like you're doing something useful.
It does. Everybody wants to feel useful.
The reason I stuck around for 40 years, to do whatever I could to encourage that. Now, having said that, I don't think I could do what those people are doing, and doing that, committing that, to going to all of those courts. That's pretty daunting. So,
it can definitely
if you have a other life, you don't have much time for those things. But they need to be done, and to be able to help someone do it.
Right.
I think that it sounds daunting. Like, when you hear court, I think that people are intimidated because court seems like a commitment. Everybody knows that if you get a minor traffic offense and are sitting in the courtroom, you could be there for a considerable amount of time. But we're really fortunate, especially in Nelson County with Judge Kelly. We have a very efficient court system, and we live in a post-COVID world now where nearly everything can be done virtually. Like, court appearances can be done virtually a lot. So,
I was going to kind of touch on that too. I think it does sound really daunting, but the truth is we have volunteers who still work full time. We have volunteers who are raising children. It can be done if somebody has the capacity, and really our staff's whole job is to help support someone through that. Court sounds like a huge burden, and it can be during the day if people are working during the day, but like Amanda said, all 3 of our judges do allow Zoom appearances into court. Most all the time, about court 60 days in advance or more. Every once in a while there'll be something that pops up kind of in an emergency sense, but most of the time it's more manageable than it feels like. And
that Zoom would make a big difference.
It has, I think, made a huge difference. It makes things a lot more accessible, and for parents too.
Sure.
Parents on cases, like, if they can Zoom in, they're maybe not having to ask off work. Maybe they can just get a break. So I do think there's been some pros and cons to kind of that accessibility, but I don't want a person who maybe is thinking about volunteering to feel like, oh, this is going to be way too much.
Good.
We're really there to help support them, and we can help meet them halfway. Like, as long as you can go see that child in person at least once a month, and as long as you can make some phone calls, a lot of it can be done that way.
And you're not in court all the time.
No, not at all.
That's only occasionally.
It's usually like every other month for that year. And sometimes it's less frequent than that. That's kind of Nelson County. I feel like that's kind of the pattern. He usually sets things out 60 days. But that can slow down too later in the case where you're just doing maybe reviews or everything varies, like I said. But really it can be manageable. And like I said, our staff, their whole goal is to make it manageable for you. We can help with that court part. We can help with some of the communications. So if you can go see a child in person, maybe talk with some relatives or doctors or teachers on the phone, and even email, it can be done. And once you get out of training, you're making those home visits on your own schedule. So you might go every other Saturday at 11 a.m. and that works for you. It works for the family. So, staff don't have to be involved with that once you get started. And so that, I think, takes away some of those scheduling limitations.
But you're always there for backup.
Correct, yes. And we do go on home visits, always your first one. But then anytime, if there were ever a situation where you wanted staff to come with you, we would.
Currently, how many cases do you all have?
I don't know how many cases offhand. We're serving right now about 56 children.
Right.
Most of those are in Nelson County. We have, I think, 18 assigned volunteers right now. Like I said, we would love to grow that. We probably have the capacity as far as need to double that and still have children left to serve.
And I've yet to see someone that the program couldn't work with. Like, it's really more a matter of, if you want to help serve children that need a voice, then you tell us what you can give, and we find a way to make that work.
Right. And if it only involves like a visit once a month, almost anybody can manage that.
Right, yep.
People spend more time per month scrolling on their phones and on social media than the time commitment that we ask for. And that's a real statistic. Like, when you look at the downtime that you have just idly scrolling, we need less time than you spend looking at your phone per month.
I believe that. It's easy to get sucked into those.
Yes, it is.
To doing those very things, even from somebody who swore they'd never do it.
It's addicting.
All right, well, let's take a commercial break. You're listening to Bradford and Brooks and Jim and Margie, and we will be back with our very special guest, Emma
Bamba.
And Ms. Shanks.
Yes.
CASA board member, and of course Emma is the, new executive director. All right, and we'll be back to continue this discussion about court-appointed special advocates and the need for more volunteers after these messages. So please stay tuned.
Your WBRT weather forecast calls for sunshine today. Look for a high reaching around 58. Partly cloudy tonight, lows at 40. Mostly cloudy Thursday, a high of around 65. Rounding out the work week on Friday, an 80% chance of rain and a high of around 67. For the weekend, a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms on Saturday. Look for a high of around 59. And that's your forecast from your hometown country radio station, WBRT.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Eat less, eat slower, eat smarter, eat your fruits and veggies. Stop eating before you're full. Up your fiber, lower your calories, get off the bus early, do some gardening, do jumping jacks, take the stairs, take one, not two, take on a new sport, take a long walk home, walk instead of drive, bend, stretch, reach for the stars, climb the monkey bars, skip the fudge bars.
Check out For Your Health, a presentation of Medica Pharmacy every first and third Thursdays at 11 o'clock on WBRT Radio and on BRTV, Bardstown Cable Channel 19. Tune in with Allison Claywell-Roby to find out all the things that you can do for your health. Medica Pharmacy.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GARAGE to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code GARAGE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code GARAGE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
number T1127496. MSRP $64,725. Sales price $52,430. Price excludes tax, title, and license. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with special financing, lease, and some other offers. See dealer for details. Offer ends 12/31/25.
Don, we now our year-end savings at Don Franklin Chevrolet in Bardstown. Get up to $12,000 off MSRP on select 2026 Chevrolet Silverado models, or choose from over 250 available Chevy models. Upgrade your sleigh at DonFranklinAuto.com or steer your way over to Don Franklin Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
WBRT, hometown radio, you found it. 1320 AM, 97.1 FM in Bardstown, and 94.9 FM in Lebanon.
Welcome back to the Bradford and Brooks Show, live on WBRT 97.1 FM and 1320 AM. Also, streaming live at WBRTcountry.com.
At times people think, oh, it's volunteer run. Why do you need funds? But the truth is, with any nonprofit, there's a lot of administration. Somebody has to manage those grants. Somebody has to support all of our volunteers. Someone has to kind of be the liaison to the court. All of those are really important roles.
Plus paying rent.
We do have our first time paying rent. We're in a new office, but we really felt that was so important. We wanted to have a space where we could bring volunteers, potential volunteers, current volunteers, so that for training purposes, so that they have a place to gather. We have CASA connections twice a month where volunteers can come talk to each other about their cases and get support from each other. It was really important for us to be able to have that safe space for them. Everything we're dealing with is confidential. And so, we need a safe, secure place that we can talk about these things, that we can store our case files. And so it was very important for us to have this space. We also are looking forward to being able to host events in our own space, smaller events, and to bring community meetings in and really embed our partnerships and utilize that space. So that's new for us, but we're really excited to use that momentum, and really staff costs money. So in order to pay our salaries, some of it's grant funded. A lot of it is just us fundraising, talking with donors, talking with businesses, community groups. We're fortunate to have a lot of support, but there's definitely need for more. Our staff doesn't have great benefits, which I think a lot of people maybe don't think about, that nonprofit professionals often do take hits on that kind of thing. And so, we have to raise the money to have a rent space. We have to raise money to have health insurance. We have to raise money to pay our salaries. We have to raise money to pay for background checks and for office space. And so that is a very crucial part of what our board does. They're a huge support with that. And then really the only staff person doing that is me. And so, we're small but mighty, and there's always a huge need for additional donors and grants. And we're having kind of our hallmark fundraising event in April. We've historically had an International Women's Day luncheon. We're still having the luncheon. We're kind of rebranding it for Champions for Children, really focusing on those people in the community that are championing and advocating for kids in our community. And so that'll be a big fundraiser for us, and a way for us to gather and talk about the impact we've made and really recognize our volunteers and just come together.
And what's important too is we do have state guidelines that we follow and observe court guidelines. So we've said before that all of our judges would like to see more CASA volunteers so they could assign us more cases. And we have to have one volunteer coordinator or one staff member per X number of volunteers. And so in order to have more volunteers, we have to keep the staff we have now and then add more as we grow. And those are the people that uphold the state guidelines and train all of those volunteers, uphold the standards, support the volunteers, so that we can have the people who have the passion for the children and need help navigating the court system. Like, these are all valid needs that we have to be able to support in order to have our program.
Right, and also want to let people know that everyone, even board members, have to pass tests.
Yes, all of our volunteers, board members, and staff have to subject themselves to background checks.
Right.
We check, regular criminal history, child abuse history, CPS
Even
history.
though board members have no contact with the children.
That's all right.
But they still must undergo background checks.
And we are audited.
Yes.
By the state,
and I think that's very important for people to know.
Yeah, we, our organization, even though our board members are not directly interacting, perhaps with children, we want to make sure that we have trustworthy people in our camp.
Sure.
We are managing some public funds. We're dealing with very sensitive matters. The last thing we want to do is put an unsafe adult in front of a child who's already had to be around unsafe adults. And so it is really important that we have all of those checks, and that we are doing our due diligence. Once somebody shows interest in volunteering, they fill out an application, they have references that we'll call, we check all their background checks, we do an interview. So there are several, and same with board members, they go through that same process as well. And so there's several kind of places where we can try to make sure that the people we have involved with our organization are trustworthy, and the right people to be involved.
Well, Emma, and I will tell you, of course, with my 10-year association, 10 plus years association with Margie, she has educated me about CASA and the benefits, and I'm on board. My wife, I believe my wife would be a wonderful volunteer. But is there an FAQ or some sort of, resource that somebody who may have an interest in volunteering can check out to see if they would be a good fit? Now, my wife is going to semi-retire later this year, and she's is like, well, she can only sew so many things.
Yeah, we'd love to have her. So our website has, we have a volunteer page, so CASALincolnTrail.org/volunteer. You can also find it from the front page. It does have some basics about what CASA is, what volunteering looks like. There's a video on there that talks a little bit about that. And then that also can link you to schedule what we call a CASA 101 with one of our staff. So you can go on the website, you can schedule that on your own time. It'll put it on our calendar. And then we're happy to meet with anybody and talk through maybe what hesitations they have, what questions they might have. If they're not sure if they're a good fit, we can help talk that through with them, let them know what that looks like, and then kind of get them started on that process. We also have kind of that process outlined on that same page.
Okay.
So if somebody kind of wants to know, like, how does this even work? How do I get started? It's kind of outlined in steps on that webpage.
And it's really risk-free. I mean, you're not risking anything by telling us you're willing to have a conversation. We will not harass you. If you decide that it's not for you, we aren't going to beat down your door. There'll be no need for restraining orders.
We'll email you a couple times.
It's really risk-free, and I feel like you'll find that most people say, I would love to do something to help children. So we offer you an outlet for that.
Okay. Well, I've kind of resisted the temptation to try to do a sales pitch to my wife.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm afraid of putting her off because I'm an advocate. It's like she has to. Any volunteer
do her own investigation.
Exactly.
Well, just tell me what time she's going to the grocery store, and I'll bump into her, and
we'll just happen upon her. No, I mean, I think that was a really good point for Amanda. It really is pressure free, because kind of the way I look at it is, if I talk to 10 people about CASA, maybe only one of them is interested, but that means 9 more people know about it, and then they could tell somebody that might be a potential volunteer or a potential donor or board member or somebody who can just help with an event or whatever capacity that is. So ultimately, yes, we need volunteers, but also we just want to raise awareness. I think a lot of times people don't realize that we have this many kids who are in court every day for child abuse and neglect. I think it's all confidential. It's very easy to sweep under the rug and not think about every day. And so we want to make sure people know that this is happening and that there's a way to help and that we have this infrastructure if they're ready and they're willing.
Well, if somebody wants to donate to help this cause along, how do they go about doing that?
Well, we will take their money anyway. We do have an online donation button on our webpage. Checks can also always be mailed. Our address is also on our website. And honestly, they can just reach out to me and I can help coordinate that. Again, that's on the website, but CASALincolnTrail.org. We're now located, our new office is on John Rowan Boulevard, right by the Huddle House. There's a pool place next to us. You're welcome to come in and drop it off. We're happy to talk with you. We're happy, we've had some donors who maybe will designate funds towards something specific. We're happy to help honor that and talk through what that looks like. We really want to honor the contributions that our donors make, and so that they know that their money is being put to good use and they know where it's going. Our 990s are all public record. We've got nothing to hide. We're happy to talk through that with anyone.
And CASA is one of the few programs where we can give you tangible evidence to show how the money that you donated was utilized. It's very outcome based, so we can show you exactly what your money was used for. It doesn't just go into the abyss. It's one of the few places that you can contribute money and actually follow its trail, see where it goes, and see what they did that year with it. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I think it's important to know that any donations stay local. That they help the community, and I think there's no better way to really give back than to do something for the betterment of children's lives.
Yes,
exactly. It's a great cause, and I think that's a great point too. It does stay local. We're not funneling it. There is a National CASA Association, but we're not funneling our funds through there. Funds that are collected here stay here. Most of it goes directly towards the cost of supporting and recruiting volunteers that directly advocate for those children.
And I think a lot of times that when people pass away, they'll say donate to the good cause, and so that's a good cause for people to donate to.
Absolutely, and we have
in memory of someone.
Correct. Yeah.
And what better way to serve somebody's memory than by advancing and bettering the lives of children?
It's a great legacy to
leave. It is.
It's
truly noble legacy.
And another thing we're seeing more of, I think, especially as we have this large generation retiring, a lot of people have these donor managed funds with their retirement funds, and there's tax benefits to donating a certain amount every year. And so, we're eligible for those funds as well under our tax, exempt status. And so that's something that we'd also love for people to keep in mind as they are talking with their, advisors and making those plans, to maybe keep us in mind.
All right. Like I say, CASA's got a 40-plus year history, and Margie has been a wonderful, one of the main engines behind those efforts for many years. You and the other, and your fellow volunteers.
We had some fellow board members. I had some fellow board members who were there almost as long as I was, and but it's everybody working together to make something happen.
Right, and it has to be gratifying to see those efforts continuing 40 years later, because CASA had very humble beginnings.
Well, we have, like I said, 7 or 8 of us around a kitchen table.
And we've grown a lot just in the last year. I mean, our board has doubled.
And I'm very happy about that, because we did need more board members.
We have new staff, a new office, and I would say half a new board. We still have our original board. We just doubled the size.
It's a really exciting time, I think, to get involved.
What is the aim? What is the aim for board members? I mean, for the number of board members.
So the goal is 15 from the state.
That's the statute requirement.
Yes, that's the statute requirement. And
but that's a minimum.
Correct.
You can have more than that. So I guess what I'm trying to get around to is we might encourage people who would be interested in helping, but thinking, well, no, I don't think I could do the advocate part. But they might be interested in being on the board and helping to, in those decisions that move the program forward.
Yeah, and we're definitely...
And to help the children. So, if you could if there are people who are interested in doing that, I think this would be a wonderful opportunity for them. And it's very gratifying to think that you're spending your hours doing something that helped children and help them survive and get through what has to be a horrific situation in many cases.
All right, well, Emma, we are getting down to the wire. Remind our listeners of how they can find you on the web.
Our web address is www.casalincolntrail.org.
Okay.
We also have a Facebook page, CASA of the Lincoln Trail. If you Google CASA of the Lincoln Trail, our website comes up first. So even if you don't remember that address, you can find us. All of our contact info is on there, and hopefully, a good starting point for anybody.
All right, and for anybody who's not familiar with CASA, that's as simple as it sounds, CASA. And so it's CASALincolnTrail.org.
Yes.
All right. I wondered if there was a CASA of in that web.
In the web, nope, just CASA Lincoln Trail.
All
yes,
right,
thank
very
you.
good. Very good. Well, appreciate so much you all coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And
we appreciate it.
Express our appreciation to Judge Kelly.
We will.
Without judges who see the value of CASA and the need, they're the ones who really help make it.
They're the gatekeepers.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, that's
we're
how
very grateful.
How it started out with a judge in Washington State who invented the program, so to speak.
Well, it's a wonderful legacy, Margie, 40 plus years.
Yes.
And you're not on the board after 40 plus years now, is that right?
No, I retired from the board.
Okay. Well,
I promised Margie that I would carry on the momentum as if she were. I promised.
oh. And you'll be on for 40 years, is that right?
Absolutely. Maybe not on the board, but I will give as much time to CASA as Margie did.
Well, I think Margie is still on the board in spirit.
That's
absolutely. We still call her.
Right.
Emma,
They can't get rid of me.
Amanda, thank you all so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you all for coming.
It's been a great conversation, and I may. I'll try to see. Subtlety's not my strong suit with my wife.
Well, maybe you offer it as a couples institution and you do it together.
Oh, there you go. We have some couples who've done it together.
That's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Less pressure, less trouble for you. You won't get in trouble.
Yeah.
Just leave our brochures on the kitchen table. We'll give you some.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's Bradford and Brooks. Again, thank you all for coming in. And Margie, we'll be back with another show next Wednesday.
Yes, we will.
All right. And hopefully the weather will join us then, too. Nice warm sunshine.
Yeah.
But that remains to be seen. Kentucky weather.
Maybe we'll have a permanent spring here.
Let's just skip it.
Instead of just a day or two here.
Oh, that's sweet. All right, we'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody. Stand by for the news here on WBRT 1320 AM 97.1 FM. Take care, everybody.